everyone, and welcome to Under the Hard Hat, Lessons Learned with ACI Young Professionals. I'm Rebecca Helt, your series host, and it is my pleasure to introduce you today to our Women in Construction panel. As March has a lot of women's holidays, it's Women's History Month, there's Women in Construction Week, and International Women's Day, we thought we would do a special edition of Under the Hard Hat, celebrating just a few of the phenomenal female leaders here in our industry. It is my joy to bring you Stephanie Hall, the CEO of J&D Rack, Kate Holden, president of KT Holden, and Michele O'Rourke, who is also the CEO of O'Rourke Wrecking Company. And leading them in our conversation today will be Amber Stiens, project manager at Skanska. One of the other reasons that we wanted to do this special Women in Construction episode today is the ACI She Builds initiative that we are growing and expanding. It originally started as a way to encourage more women to join the industry, but it is now becoming ingrained into everything we do as an organization. So we really hope that you enjoy this episode, and without further ado, I will turn it over to Amber and our panel.
My name is Amber Stiens. I'm project manager with Skanska and also a member of ACI's Young Professional Committee. So starting tonight, if you could please introduce yourself, how you got into construction, and why you have stayed in the industry. Stephanie, if you'd like to kick us off.
You're number one.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie. My name, can we do cut and try again? I'm Stephanie with J&D Rack. I am a happily married mom of a first-year college student who went far, far away, so keeping the tears in check. Thank you. I got into the construction industry because of my dad, who happens to be in the audience with my mom today. When he immigrated here from India, he took a job at a commercial construction company and loved what he did. He passed on the passion to me about never building the same project twice. So 25 years later, I love what I do. One of my key great moments that I just recently had was after so many years in the general contracting business, I took a pivot in my career and I went to a subcontracting firm. I went to work for a small family-owned excavation company. When I was there, I really loved what I did, and I could see the potential growth that the company could do. So I chased after the top position. So in 2024, I was named the first female non-family member CEO of J&D Rack, a company that's been around for 93 years and is in its fourth generation of ownership.
Wow. Very impressive. Hello, everyone. I'm Michele O'Rourke. I'm the CEO of O'Rourke Wrecking Company. I came into construction, in the construction demolition industry in a non-traditional way. I don't have a construction management degree. I didn't come up through the field or the trades. And I just want to give you a little background on my story to understand how someone who didn't want to be in the demolition industry got into the demolition industry in a big way. So I was born and raised on the west side into a blue-collar family. My dad had a work ethic like I've never seen. He instilled that in me at a very, very young age. In fact, there was no laying around in our household. I had a paper route at 11. That was my first job, and I've been working ever since. So along the way, I met my high school sweetheart, who is now my husband, Mike, who was in the demolition business. His dad was the founder of O'Rourke. And before our dates, we had to go bid work. He worked during the day on Saturdays, and so he would pick me up. Of course, he'd go home and shower. He'd pick me up, and we'd go around the city, and I would help him measure and work up estimates. And so that was my first exposure. And I love seeing the full circle of it. You know, a lot of these buildings we were looking at are so dilapidated, scary. And then to see a beautiful green lot in the end was great. So full circle for me. So I did love that. But my dream was to become a doctor. So I went off to Miami University, pre-med major. I was the first in my family to go to college. I had a lot of skin in the game. I had to pay for half. And Upon graduation, I decided to take a gap year or two to pay off my loans. I was a little overwhelmed. I started talking to doctors and about how much med school was. I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. So I took some time off, got a job in pharmaceutical sales, was doing really well, got married right out of college to Mike, and off we went into our careers. Well, a family tragedy struck. Mike's father passed away suddenly at age 52, so our whole life changed. We were basically ships passing in the night. Mike was, 26 years old, trying to take over, a company. And when a founder passes, there's just a lot going on with bonding, banking, and things like that. So I made a very pivotal decision, a very hard decision to quit my job cold turkey. And that's what I did. I quit, and I told myself I'm just going to be Mike's support system, do whatever it takes to help him, if that means being home more, cooking meals. And during that time, I started going to the office. Not that he liked that. And just helping out, running bids, running errands, working on my resume. And I was noticing that they weren't, cash flow was a problem. Mike was busy bidding work, executing it in the field, and that was the last thing on his mind. So I convinced him, my sales skills came in here, that to let your new wife work with you in the company temporarily. And so that's what I did. He agreed, and that's what I did. I got the receivables under control, cash flow was coming in, and then I just kind of put my head down and started doing all the jobs that nobody wanted to do. And that took me through all the departments at O'Rourke, and it gave me my foundation in the credibility and the respect of the team to do what I'm doing today. So why did I stay? Because I wanted to be a doctor, and I still have a side hustle. I love to advise all my friends about holistic medicine, so if you have anything, let me know. But why did I stay is demolition was not only underestimated, I didn't like that. It was kind of like the redheaded stepchild. It didn't get the appreciation that I think it deserved. And plus, the people. It was the people. I couldn't believe how smart, intelligent, the critical thinking skills, the problem solving, the grit, the passion, the pride. I just was hooked. I had called on neurosurgeons and cardiologists, and I was like, I would much rather go to lunch with one of these guys. They were just authentic, and I thought, and I couldn't stand the perception and the reputation that was being said about our tradesmen. There weren't any women that I knew of, so that's why I'm calling them tradesmen. I didn't like it. And so I made that my platform. Like, I'm going to fight for this. I'm going to change this. These are careers. This is not a second-rate job. These guys are not stupid or uneducated, and that's what I did, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I stayed.
Okay, I got to follow that. My name is Kate Holden, and I started KT Holden Construction about 8 years ago. The reason I am in this industry is kind of similar to Stephanie, but I stayed in it for the reasons Michele stated. My dad was a painting contractor. He used to take me out on jobs. Stayed in the Astra van while he was, making deals on job sites, and I was in love with the equipment aspect of it. He was in the coatings and painting industry, but I had no interest in that. I wanted to run the equipment. I wanted to do the site work. So when I'm the youngest of 5, and when I decided I had to do something after high school, I said, I'm going to go into construction. I'm going to build highways, and I'm going to do it like for one of those companies to do it at night. Well, my mom was terrified, and my dad was like, well, if any of our kids going to do it, she's going to do it. And so I tell people my dad's the reason I stayed in or went into construction, but my mom's the reason I stayed in construction. My mom gave me the courage to show up every day and fight for what I wanted to do. And so there's that. So I went to construction management at UC over 20 years ago. I worked for a heavy civil company in the Cincinnati area. I decided to have kids. I was a project manager in the field, and one of the biggest challenges that I've always faced in the heavy civil sector specifically is you got to make hay where the sun shines. You don't move, hundreds of yards or thousands of yards of dirt in snow. So it's really demanding for a short period of the year, and having a family is really challenging in the heavy civil industry. So after I had my second kid, I stopped working for the general contractor and started KT Supply. We now are KT Holden Construction. I started with one dump truck, 2 kids, and 1 driver, and now I have 4 kids and 60 people and a lot of equipment. And I didn't mention my husband. He's going to be sad about that. And my husband is also in the heavy civil industry, worked for other contractors, and about 5 years ago, he came on board to help me start the construction division of KT Holden Construction.
All right, thank you guys. It's really impressive. Now, for those in the audience and for some of our listeners who are not as familiar with what you do on a day-to-day basis or what your companies do, could you please explain how you tell someone or explain to someone that doesn't work in our industry what you do?
I'll start this time. So KT Holden is a site development contractor. We build roads, we build bridges, large or small retaining walls, and we do underground utilities, whether they be deep or shallow. That is what our business is. We do a lot of public work, and we do a little bit of private work and heavy industrial and commercial work.
So how I would describe it really quick is we clear the way for what's next. I always pride myself, we're the first responders of revitalization. So when we're called to the site, you know something good's going to happen. But in a nutshell, O'Rourke is a fully integrated turnkey environmental and demolition contractor. So when we come on a site, usually there's always environmental work, and O'Rourke does as much environmental as it does demolition. I don't think people realize that. So anything above ground, like asbestos abatement, lead, mold, and underground, which would be contaminated soils, underground storage tanks, and then the demolition. We do every type of demolition there is, big or small. I know we're known for the iconic projects like UC Crosley, but we do small projects as well. We also we're big time recyclers. Demolition contractors were green before it was cool to be green because we have to. It helps with our cost. So we try not to landfill. So we have a recycling facility where we can further segregate our waste streams and sort them, and so that less is taken to the landfill.
Mine is way shorter than that. I play in the dirt. I play in the dirt with Katie. But Katie does it in a much bigger, broad scheme. I like to do the site work and the utilities for schools, churches, new construction, things like that.
All right, thank you. Now, starting to dig deeper a little bit, as far as being outstanding women in the construction field, what advice do you have for women that are just starting out in the industry? And if you could touch on both the craft side and the management side. Michele, I'll start with you.
It's to be the best you can at your craft. Learn as much as you can. I think, when you're starting out, it's hard to ask questions, especially of the industry veterans, but it's so important to glean as much information as possible from our aging workforce. The craft forces are aging out, and the new generation is bringing in a skill set that we have not seen before, being able to implement technology and innovation, and they work smarter a lot of times, and they bring in fresh ideas on processes. But if they can learn to ask questions of our older workforce to gain that historical knowledge, can you imagine how synergistic that will be? And also, learn as much as you can, and don't have limiting beliefs. Just because you start somewhere, you can move all over a company and then eventually can run a company. And some of our best leaders within O'Rourke have come from the trades, from the field. So.
I was asked this question at UC at the Construction Students Association a few weeks ago. One thing that popped up is be bold and don't take offense to everything. And I think that goes with every industry, but definitely in construction. Like Michele said, there's a lot of people in the field that have been doing their craft for 20, 30, 40 years. And I don't think there's a more humble workforce than in the construction industry. They don't brag on themselves, but they're also not gonna pipe up. You got to ask them questions and be honest. If you're not supposed to know everything. If you did, well, good for you. the people in this industry are absolutely incredible. They blow me away every single day on what they accomplish and what they do. And if you ask, and if you tell them, like, do you just realize put a sanitary sewer in 30 foot deep and crossed under 4 fiber optic lines and a 1907 60-inch water main, they would be like, well, that's incredible. But they don't see it that way. They were just like, well, I did that today, and that's fine, and then they go home. So have the courage to talk to people and listen, and don't be afraid to admit that you don't know everything. The more I learn, the more I find out I don't know.
Mine's kind of similar to that as well. I think my advice would be have a thick skin. There's a lot of rough and tumble kind of words in construction. I love that it's become more accepting of women in the field. That's a great progress from when we started out. But have a thick skin to that, and then also stand your ground. You will always deserve a seat at the table. You have that respect, so stand up for yourself.
Awesome. I really appreciate that response. Be bold, be honest, stand up for yourself. I want to talk a little bit about work-life balance. And Kate, you mentioned having 4 kids, owning your own business. How do you prioritize your time?
Yeah, so I have a 4-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 12-year-old, and all of them are in school. They have 4-H, and they do sports and things like that. And then I have this construction company with 60 employees. And for me, and the answer is going to be totally different for the other two up here. I say no a lot. You don't see me at a ton of events because I choose to be there for my family first, and then my company. And my husband was also, my partner in business, and so we made a commitment a long time ago. One of us is going to be a parent, and the other might have to go it alone in the company event or something like that. And so I choose to say no, and I really nitpick what I am a part of. The reason I said yes to this is because I'm a firm believer that I have a lot to say about this industry. It is by far the best industry in the entire world. It is just, we have incredible people, and the more I meet them, the more it shines through. And I want everybody to know that this is a career, whether you're a male or female, it doesn't matter. Whether you want to be in the trades or you eventually want to be the president, you can barely have a high school diploma, and with the right attitude, you can own your own company. And that's the norm in this industry. And I don't know if that's the norm in any other industry. It's just, you could be one of the most intelligent people on the project and, seemingly only have a high school diploma. And that is just incredible. So, yeah.
I second all that. That is beautiful. And that's, that's why, I personally do things like this because, I came early on, like I said before, and I saw how the intelligence and the lack of respect given to the trades and to our field and what they're doing. And, construction makes the world go around. Without us, there would be no buildings, there'd be no roads, there would be nothing. And so it's an important part of our world, and it commands respect. And that's why we're out here talking about it. You can't talk about it enough. And so we keep that next generation coming in. But back to work-life balance, my story is a lot different. I think I get this question asked a lot, the younger generations, like, how do you do it? And it's, I believe in work-life balance, just not every day. Can set your priorities, like Kate said. Pick what's a priority to you and live by it and set that. Don't break it. If it's getting to your son's t-ball game or whatever, be true to yourself and just make sure that you don't break that. So that's.
I have no work-life balance. Everybody will admit to that. My family will admit to it. My husband keeps track of our schedule on our dry ease board at home, and he goes, okay, I'm having dinner with you 2 times this week. So I have no work-life balance. I struggle with that, but I was very glad that I was able to make it to my son's events when they were important. Like Michele and Katie, we practiced ahead of time, and we're like, how do we get 80 hours in a week? So I would be late to the baseball games. I would be late to the Boy Scout events, but I got there. So I am now learning, now that he's away, to cherish the moments that I can get.
I want to add one more thing to that because I think you all would agree as well. Being in the positions that we are in our company, whether we choose to make an event or not, it has a lot to do with the people that work with us. And, I am in a different state than these two ladies, and the people that I work with know I'm focused on my family. And so when something does happen, they understand, like, well, she's got to leave. That's a priority. And they make it happen. And then, I'm very grateful for that. Like I said, it all comes down to our people.
Stephanie, going back to you, in what ways have you seen the differences between men and women play out in your career and in their approach to problem solving?
Okay, so no disrespect to the men in here. And I'm going to call out my business partner because unlike these two lovely ladies, they work with their husbands. I got stuck with the business partner who wants to challenge me every freaking day. So when it comes to problem solving, we have a totally different mindset. I have found that when I talk to men, they have this macro way of thinking. Big picture, end result. That's all they want to know. 50 words or less, give it to me straight. I am a woman. I am ingrained in the details. I want to get lost in the weeds. And so when we have a problem come up on a job site, the two of us are butting heads. Our door is closed 90% of the time because we are arguing. But when I take the patience to listen to him and understand where he wants to take the team and where to take the company, I can integrate my details of the micromanagement into the macro thinking and come out with a good result.
I'm just going to add my 2 cents.
Please do.
You make it sound like working with your husband so easy.
It's got to be better.
I was going to say you nailed it. You nailed it.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the first lessons I learned from my husband. Like Stephanie said, women have a different perspective, mindset. We are very detail-oriented to the point that we're like, why did I see that? But Mike gave me the best advice. He's like, listen, when you're in a meeting, be direct and to the point when you're with a bunch of guys. He's like, they're going to glaze over and they're not going to hear anything you said. And when you send a text, just say yes or no. I don't need all the 1,000 details. So I know who I can do that with and who I can't. So that is so true what you said.
Yeah, they nailed it. That's 100% true.
What changes have you seen over the last, Michele, you've talked about a couple decades in the industry, for women in particular. How have things changed, and where do you think there's still room to improve?
So I'm going to age myself. So this is my 32nd year in the demolition industry, and I hate, that sounds awful, but I'm just going to be out there and tell you. When I entered, there were no females, very few, and the few that were, you knew who they were, and we kind of stuck together. And most of the roles females played was in secretarial or administrative. And I can tell you, in the last probably 5 years, there are more women now than I have ever seen in probably the last 2 years. In fact, we hosted an event, Skanska and the O'Rourke team had a women in construction event at Crosley Tower last week. And we capped it at 50 people. And I thought, there's no way we'll have 50 women. And there was a waiting list. And when I walked into that room and I saw all these women, it just brought tears to my eyes because I feel like we finally, our work is, it was so a proud moment. So we have come a long way. And, what I think we need to continue now is getting more young women into the trades. And how do we do that? I want the younger generation who are in the field to tell their stories, to do stuff like this.
Yeah, I think that there has to be a bit of a culture shift in our industry. We have a lot of women on our leadership team. The majority of our project managers are female, and all of which have kids. And the gentlemen on our project management team, they all have kids as well. And the importance is we treat them the same. If one of them has a sick kid, they go and get it, whether it's male or female. They can work from home and things like that. It definitely starts at the top, kind of pushing that, making sure that they know that the trades are viable. I really target preschoolers because that's one of my kids is in preschool. And so I do a lot of volunteer work kind of showing off our industry at the preschool and grade school level and at events like 4-H and things like that, whereas as you two target maybe a different audience, but the goal is still the same. This is viable for females, whether you want to be a laborer or own a company or design the work or whatever your path is. It starts at any age.
When I was at UC in construction management, I was one of 9 women that graduated from the class. And that was the biggest class that they had seen at UC for women. And now when we go back and we talk, the room is half full of women. It is wonderful to see.
So you guys have mentioned some of the ways that you reach out, starting even in kindergarten and up. What are some of the most important outreach activities or most passionate outreach activities that you guys are involved in, and why are they important?
Well, I think we need to go by the grade level again, because you take it from the small.
Next week, I'm speaking to a 4-H Clover Buds, which is age like 5 to 9, and I'm taking a bunch of RC cars, which ironically, high schoolers think that's cool too. But I'm just showing them, like, you're digging in the dirt, and, how do we get the design of the building? How do you put the pipes in the ground and start from something elementary? That's the path that I'm pushing.
It sparks an interest.
It sparks an interest.
And then I take it from Kate, and I go and I speak at career fairs and schools and things like that. I volunteer with the Scouts, and if I get the ability to just talk to one little girl, one young lady who goes, wow, that's what you do? And I go, yeah. And if they say, I want to do that, then I think I would feel accomplished.
I've never turned down an opportunity to speak at any level. I just think it's important. Allied Construction Industries host career construction days, and I'm a big part of that. I think it's important to talk to the students that are going through and just tell them about all the different careers. There's just so much we can be doing, and it's easy. It's just, I know this sounds, silly just to be talking to students and tell them what you do, but you don't know the impact you're making or what they're going to do. Another thing I'd like to get in front of is the parents and anybody in education to talk about the career pathways. If I can tell the parents about all the viable career pathways, not just in demolition, but in construction, in architecture, and the lucrative careers, then usually like, where do I sign up?
Yeah.
But it's just really important to tell our story and talk about all the different pathways, and also the educators who are because we've been programmed that, college is a great career pathway, but so are the trades. So just explaining our story.
And once women do get into the construction field, you also want to support them through their early career and make sure they stay in the industry. Have any of you implemented any policies within your company? Kate, you mentioned flexible time and understanding for childcare. Are there any other things like that you guys have found beneficial?
It's important to have, females in leadership roles in our company and to be part of critical conversations and critical decisions that are going to affect the outcomes within the company. So that culture, is very important to us, making women feel they belong and they have a voice, that they can speak up at whatever level they are. We just recently renovated our office, and we put in a mother's room, just in case, because, young moms have children, and, so we're just trying to implement things like that.
I couldn't agree more. I am fortunate, unfortunate, however you want to say it, that I'm the only woman in the company. But I do like that we have a mentoring program that we're all part of, and we get to have coffee or have lunch with women that are just starting out their careers and saying, okay, how do I handle this? How do I handle this? One young mentee I had, she said, I go on a job site and all the guys just think I'm the therapist and they just want to talk and talk and talk. And I'm like, you need to shut that down, girl. So
and mentoring is I think all 3 of us mentor a lot of young women, and it's just simple. Mentoring doesn't have to be like, a dedicated time, place every month. It can be just simple things, just knowing that they can call you and ask questions. I mean, I get asked everything from what to wear to some really bad situations they're in and how to handle it. I think at my era, you just kind of watch from afar, like, okay, I like that quality, I want to be like that. Or I don't like that quality, I don't want to be like that. So that's kind of our mentoring.
Developing a company like I've taken the good parts of things I've been through and made them better, and I've taken the bad parts of just having to deal with something and address that in my company and cater to that. So we are more welcome, everybody's welcome, females and whoever. So
Last main question here. What is one thing you've learned the hard way that would have made your life so much easier if you had known it at the beginning of your career?
My number one thing I wish I knew at the very beginning of my career is to have a team of cheerleaders. Like if I struggle, I didn't have anybody when I was first starting off, like Michele and Kate were saying. And now I've built this posse around me of people that I can lean on when I have questions and need to bounce ideas off of. I've got this amazing support group that will cheer for me and come to these podcasts after me teaching and twisting their arms, like, please come support me. And then I've got these other great cheerleaders who, as I'm climbing the corporate ladder, they're cheering me on. And if I fall down a rung, they are there to pick me up and say, go ahead, keep going, keep climbing. So I wish I had established my cheerleaders more earlier in my career.
I think for me, when I look back, I wish I would have just went with my gut feeling. 9 times out of 10, I always second guess myself. And if I would just had that confidence to go with, what I thought was right or to speak up, my life would have been a lot easier, sooner. I remember sitting at the table and I'm like, okay, and I'm thinking this in my head, and then the guy next to me is like, and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. I was so mad at myself. But just really, the younger generation, I just want to instill confidence. We're all struggling. We're all human. Don't be afraid to speak up. There's no dumb question, and to go with your gut. And especially as you get into leadership roles, if something doesn't feel right or smell right, ask questions. Don't keep your head in the sand, because unfortunately in our business there are unsavory characters. Not everybody has for the greater good. So just if you think it, question. That's all I ask as a leader. Question, and you'll smoke it out. So
mine's kind of the opposite of Michelle's.
I know that sounds that sounds pretty negative. No, I'm sorry. No, but you need to know that. You know what I mean? If you're coming up as a leader, and just to ask questions. And
well, what I was going to say is I always say 27-year-old Kate cannot run KT Supply. I would have ran it in the ground because I was so prideful and I knew everything at 27. Now I'm 42 and I know nothing compared to that. And so I was overly confident and too afraid to admit I didn't know something. And looking back, I think now that I'm in the position I am, like, oh, I hope people don't remember that firecracker. There's a balance, and just knowing that, to be honest, that you don't know everything. I wish I knew that back then. So
I bet it was hard to work with.
no, you weren't.
No, not us.
All right. Are we ready for the rapid fire questions?
Let's do it.
Skyline or Gold Star?
Skyline.
Oh, controversy here. Favorite work boot brand?
Red Wing.
Justin.
Ariat.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a
right.
good one.
Morning or afternoon meetings?
Morning.
Both. Doesn't matter. Depends what it is. Morning all day long.
Virtual or in-person meetings?
In person.
In person.
Yep, that's an easy one. Bengals or Reds?
Bengals.
Oh, gosh.
Red's opening
Reds.
day, you're wearing red.
I didn't plan it.
Opening day.
That's right. Got to be Reds fans right now.
All right, UC or Xavier?
UC.
UC.
Come on.
Miami, but
Girls,
UC.
that wasn't a
You're in
choice.
between two UC ladies.
all right.
All
My husband
right.
went to UC. So.
There we go.
Graders or UDF?
Graders.
Raiders.
Matry or Rheingeist?
Matry.
Ryan, guys.
Ryan, guys.
La Rosas or Dewey's?
Roses.
What's
Dewey's.
Dewey's.
Yeah.
Even though the Roses, my first dates were there. So.
East Side or West Side?
East side. East
North
side.
side.
Say it. Say it.
Oh, this is hard because I have my roots are from the west side, best side, and I live on the east side.
My
now.
roots are from the west
How
side
do I answer
too.
that?
My
Both.
My roots are from the west side too, but
That's such a politician, isn't it?
yeah.
But you guys were smart and moved out of the west side. So,
Northern Kentucky or Ohio? It sounds like
Ohio.
all Ohio, right?
Ohio.
Yep, okay. Working in the winter or the summer?
Summer.
There we go. It's easier on the equipment, right?
Yes.
Digital plans or physical?
Physical, I'm showing my age.
Physical.
DeWalt, Milwaukee, or other?
Healthy.
DeWalt.
Ooh.
Caterpillar?
Difficult client or challenging site?
Challenging site.
100%.
All right, well, that wraps up our rapid fire round. We're going to go ahead and do some questions from the audience.
Be easy.
Let's see. What do you do to get command of a full room of men?
Walk in.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're the only woman in a room, you're going to get noticed. I mean, they're going to, and just be your authentic self. You know, don't act like you don't belong there. Just walk right up and act like you own the room, and you'll be fine.
We have someone that said, I'm the proud girl dad and want to make sure my 2 daughters know that going into a trade, project management, or design is an option for them. What are good ways to introduce them to the industry?
Ooh, I would say have them shadow one of us.
Yes.
No matter what their age is.
Yes.
Yeah, no matter what
Whoever
their
that
age.
was needs to come up after.
Yes, we welcome kids to come over to our shop and come climb on the equipment, come learn what we're doing. That our doors are always open.
Yeah. I have a pink excavator, and my 4-year-old thinks it's hers. And it's a large excavator. It's a 23,000-pound machine. It's not like a toy.
Yeah, down at our recycling facility, we let kids dig in the dirt.
Yeah. 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 Show them that it's okay. It's okay to be dirty.
What was a pivotal key business decision that built your professional career?
I thought you said to make these easy.
Well,
When I started my company, it was hiring people. It's really, really hard when you're not making, a salary to hire somebody else and have them make more money than you. But when I started to do that, my company flourished. That was the most important thing I did, was hire somebody smarter than me.
I'm going to second that. There's a young woman sitting in the audience that when I hired her, she did that for me, and she's way smarter, and I was able to do other things to advance my career, and I'm very thankful to this person. And she took what I was doing to another level, put in processes, and very efficient, and very proud of her. And also, another pivotal thing in my life was, making that decision to quit my job and to join this industry, because it's been very gratifying, very fulfilling. So.
I think the pivotal part for me was just staying in it. I can't tell you how many days I'm like, screw this. I checked my language. I don't need to do this. I could be at home. I could be the stay-at-home mom that I want to be and raise my kid. But, just getting up the next day and going, you know what? I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep stepping forward. It's hard. It stinks. It sucks. But at the end of it, yeah, like, look what I did. Look what I built. Like, nobody can take that from you. So.
It sounds like you women work a lot of hours. What's something that you do for yourself, and how often are you able to do that?
I drink coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Just taking small moments, and when you can fit in little mini vacations, little short trips or things like that, that's what I do. And I love to go out to eat, so I enjoy that. So
Maybe some golf outings, right?
Well, that's
We're trying.
mine. Like,
Okay, sorry.
I struggle to give quality time to my husband, and he loves to golf. So on the weekends, I will try and go to a small par 3 course that I will not get mad and chuck clubs into the lake and things like that. But that's just my way of doing something with my husband and getting away from the work for a little bit.
I really struggle with that. Because I have 4 young kids. But I joke. I love coffee, and I do stop and get a coffee, and that's all I need, because someday all of that, we were talking about it. I told Stephanie you'd probably kill somebody to go see your son play t-ball again, And I know eventually I won't have that challenge. So mine really is just stopping for a coffee on the way into the office or on the job or something like that. So mine's pretty simple.
All right, now for our young professionals in the audience, what are steps that we should be taking, or what's your advice for us to do to propel our careers towards an executive or an ownership position?
Well, you could start your own company like I did.
You could say you want it. That's what I did.
Yeah.
I walked up to the current CEO of the company that I'm at right now, and I said, I want your job. And surprisingly, he said, okay, here you go.
That's a very good point.
Yeah,
You know,
I would agree 100% with that.
to make
Yeah.
it known, you know, where you want to go within the company. You know, nobody can read your mind, and when somebody vocalized like you did, they can be coached and mentored, and leadership needs to know that. And I think that's a great suggestion, just to come flat out and say, I want to do that. You know what I mean? Because that really helps and can get guidance. So yeah, I think that's great.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies, all so much. I really appreciate your time being here and for being role models for myself and for all of us here in the audience.
Really appreciate you guys for sharing your time, experiences, and advice with all of us here. And to the audience members, both live here and listening online, I would challenge you to reflect on all of the great nuggets of wisdom that our panel shared today and take at least one of them that you can implement personally into your own life, into your own businesses, and ways that you can encourage and help other women in the construction industry really grow and thrive in what they do. I would also like to thank all of our sponsors who help make this podcast happen. We have Pioneer Cladding and Glazing, Skanska, Beacon Electric, MSP Design, Blue & Co., and Turner Construction Company. We really appreciate all of your support, and thank you all for being here, and we hope you will return to go under the hard hat once again.